Ladies and gentlemen, there are bluffs that have stood the test of time. Perhaps the Phil Ivey versus Paul Jackson, where he 5-bets a Jack-Jack 7 board.
How we can possibly continue in this hand? Everything Paul Jackson has done.
All in.
What?
That's why we're here and they're there.
But there is one bluff in particular that has set the modern day landscape of poker. And that is, of course, the famous Chris Moneymaker versus Sammy Farha heads-up match. If you have not seen this hand, stay tuned. It's the greatest and most important bluff of all time, quite literally. We're also going to have a special guest during this video that you're going to want to see. Let's get into the hand.
Don't do it.
Chris Moneymaker's going to do it anyway. Reaches for 100,000 chips with a king 7. Sam Farha with a queen 9. We'll call that bet.
When it's heads up, odd things happen.
Flop comes 9, 2, 6.
I like how they just don't say the stacks or the blinds.
Chris Moneymaker has nothing and checks for Farha.
On the flop of a 9-6 deuce 2 spade, it goes check, check. And this is reasonable by Moneymaker. You can definitely check back king highs. Of course, you can c-bet as well. Not much to be said here. You know, checking down king high and heads up is kind of a standard play. You do have some good backdoor properties. You do get to call a lot of turns, particularly a turn like this is quite good for our range. Anyway, let's go ahead and see where the madness starts to happen.
As well, the turn is an 8.
And now they both have a spade draw.
300,000 from Sam Farha,
Who has the pair of 9s, and Moneymaker also has a straight draw and will raise.
There's a 300. No, I raise.
very adamant about his raise.
Indeed. Still stacking chips. It's a big raise.
5-1.
500,000 is the raise.
It's quite a play. It's sort of a semi-bluff. He still could get there on a straight draw or flush draw, but he has nothing right now. And Sam,
On the 8 of spades turn, Farha goes for the $300,000 bet. I believe it's into 200,000. Moneymaker with the king high flush draw and open-ended decides to bump it up to 800,000, and Farha goes for the very quick call. And usually I would give some analysis on why people are doing such actions. But however, we have a special guest on the channel today, the one and only Chris Moneymaker. Moneymaker, take it over and let us know what you think.
What's up, everybody? Chris Moneymaker here. So Rob Kuhn wanted me to talk about a video about one of my biggest bluffs. This is probably the biggest bluff I've ever made, obviously. From the 2003 World Series of Poker, where I bluffed Sammy Farha. So what went into this bluff? First of all, when we got down to heads up, I offered Sammy to chop the money and play for the bracelet. Well, he immediately turned me down and said he's the more experienced player, he should get more money, which my response was essentially, fuck you, we're going to play. But one thing that it told me is he thinks he's a better player, which I kind of knew anyways, but he just verified it. And I know as a better player, you want to grind down your opponents. You don't want to play big pots. You want to play small pots. So I knew that he would be wanting to keep the pots as much controlled as he can. Now, Sammy's not one to always control pot sizes. He's one to apply a lot of pressure, but he doesn't apply a lot of pressure to amateurs. He applies a lot of pressure to pros, and he wasn't going to bluff against me a whole lot. He was going to try to keep it grindy and work me down. He's actually saying that this could be fast when, I mean, honestly, he wants this to last hours. So knowing the fact that he wanted to grind me down, my strategy heads up was to play big pots with him, force him into situations that he was going to be calling off a big part of his stack without the best hand. And so I was just looking for opportunities to put pressure on him, essentially. We got into this situation where he bet on the turn. We both checked the flop, which in this day and age is a pretty dead giveaway. Don't have anything, or it's a big trap, one of the two. There's not really much in between. Poker's a lot different than what it was back, than what it is today. You just don't see this line very often, especially in heads-up play. He bet on the turn. I made it 500,000 more. He called. And at this point, I'm pretty sure he's got a flush draw. I'm thinking he's got a flush draw with second pair.
With all of that said, that actually makes quite a lot of sense. I mean, this is, how poker players generally perceive amateurs. You do want to generally grind them down. Moneymaker's taking the approach of higher variance lines and really putting Farha to the test here. If he would have lost this pot, he told me that he would have been even in chips. So he had something like a 4-1 chip lead at this point. He just wanted to put a lot of pressure on, and I love it. Anyway, let's carry on.
Comes right on in.
We're going to see the river card.
We said it's going to be over soon.
How cool are these guys?
And is a 3 of hearts.
Moneymaker doesn't get to either draw, and the pair of 9s is best.
I'm all in.
Chris Moneymaker going all in with nothing.
A stunning play from Moneymaker.
Obviously, he could have top pair, but even in top pair, I really felt like his skill edge was so much greater than mine that he wouldn't put his tournament life on the line trying to call off with just one pair. So I went for the bluff. I made my mind. When I raised on the turn, it didn't matter what card came. I was going to bluff the river. I had the flush draw, I had the straight draw. And so if I missed or I hit, I was gonna fire all in on the river because I knew he didn't want to play for it all unless he had a really strong hand, and pretty sure he didn't have a really strong hand. So,
who missed his draws, has nothing, and now has put Sam Farha all in. He would have to put all his chips in. If he lost this pot, he would be out of the tournament. Moneymaker bluffed at this once, and Farha came. He's now bluffing at it again.
You must have missed your flush, huh?
Sam's absolutely right.
This would be a tough call for Sammy.
Imagine the nerves. I wonder how Moneymaker is feeling.
Is Chris bluffing this time?
No.
He ain't bluffed all night.
No.
It's quite a predicament for Sammy. He has a pair of 9s. It's the best hand, but he can't know that. And if he calls this bet and loses, we're playing for the World Championship. If he's wrong, he's out of it. He's the runner-up. So it's really tough just to sit here and call with a pair of 9s, particularly when Moneymaker has made 2 big bets in a row.
I'll make a crazy call on you. Could be the best hand.
Sam Farha trying to draw something out of Chris Moneymaker, but he's like a statue, afraid to make any sort of move.
Great composure.
Sam, you want to save yourself, you won't call.
Don't do it.
Don't do it, Sam.
Don't do it.
He is not going to do it. Chris Moneymaker bluffs Sam Farha out of a big stack of money.
And considering this situation, I know we're early in the century, but that's the bluff of the century.
The bluff of the century gets through. Moneymaker goes on to win the main event, of course, as everyone knows. Actually, the 20-year anniversary was 2 days ago. I guess it'll be 3 days ago when this video gets released. Chris being one of my closest friends, this is so sick to actually relive. I was only 13 when this happened. Yes, I know I look older, but I was only 13 when this happened. And this changed poker. I don't think most of us would be here today if this bluff didn't get through or Sammy Farha won the main event. That's it. That's it, folks. The bluff of the century, the bluff that changed poker history. I hope you guys like this video. Much love.
One card away from a new world, Chris Moneymaker.
This could be the last card of the 2003 World Series of Poker.
It's a 5.
With a full house, Chris Moneymaker eliminates Sam Farha, and the 27-year-old has stepped out of the virtual poker room and in a very swift and unlikely manner is atop the poker world.
This is beyond fairy tale. It's inconceivable.
Baby,